this Omicron. Falcon hates puns and thinks that they're all wrong. One's American and one is an Aussie. Talking about StarCraft 2 and the esports scene.
Hello and welcome, Falcon.
Thank you, good sir. It is a good podcast day.
It is indeed. Yep.
So you sound kind of sleepy.
Do I? I feel it. I think I worked it out that I slept like 18 hours in the last 36.
Whew.
So.
Sounds like your body needed it in that case.
Yeah. Well, first week back at work from having holidays. So I was probably a little tired than I have been.
Right.
Yeah. That's probably it.
Okay, that's good. Hope it's not mono. Well, I think one of my sisters, she thinks she has mono, so that's just on my mind right now.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we were over at my mom's house on Sunday, and we were talking about it, and my mom was like, I feel like two of you had mono in high school. She's like, was that you? And I was like, oh, nope. I didn't kiss anybody in high school, so
I'm pretty sure you can get mono from other ways than just kissing people.
I know, but for teenagers,
Well, I mean,
traditionally that's the way.
How did I get mono then?
I'm not saying it's impossible. You're not a teenager either, so I'm just saying for teenagers, the traditional way is to make out with 37 different people, and hey, mono. Yeah.
Okay. Man, high schools in Utah are wild. 37? Is that what kids are doing? Yeah, I don't think I knew any of the popular kids that were that popular.
Okay. Fair enough. Just saying, it's a possibility.
It's a possibility.
There's a kid in my grade that got mono. He was out of school for like 6 months. It was like he missed, maybe not 6 months, like maybe like 4 months though. He missed so much of the year. And he would tell stories of like he'd be downstairs. I was like, I'm hungry. I need to eat. So he'd like go up one stair and be like, okay, that's enough.
I am not that lethargic. Maybe I have narcolepsy, but I'm not lethargic. It's fine.
Well, narcolepsy, is that excess sleeping or is that just falling asleep at random?
Both.
Interesting. Okay. I was under the impression that narcoleptics, they would fall asleep at inopportune moments when they don't want to, but I didn't think they were sleeping for like 16 hours a day as well. Maybe
I saw an episode of House, and House has always been right in medical matters, where there was a woman who was like sleeping 22 hours a day, and I'm pretty sure they refer to that as narcolepsy. But I don't know. It's been a while since I watched House.
Yeah, I haven't seen a House episode in a while. Yeah, fair enough. So people with narcolepsy often find it difficult to stay awake for long periods of time, regardless of the circumstances. So yeah, if you're just having a hard time staying awake, period, you're definitely sleeping more than 8 hours every 24.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not that I find it difficult to stay awake. It's that I was like, I'm tired, I'm going to go to bed. I actively sought sleep repeatedly.
Right.
So it's not narcolepsy, it's not mono.
Right. I don't think it is. I just think you're kind of splitting hairs to be like, I didn't have trouble staying awake. I just really wanted to go to sleep. It's like, well, okay.
Look, if I had, last night when it was like 11 o'clock, if I had decided to load up a video game and play it, I could have just stayed up all night. Instead, I was like, I gotta try and keep some semblance of my sleep schedule. I don't want to re-break it after having just fixed it. I'm gonna go to bed and try to sleep. And then I got to bed and I fell asleep pretty quickly.
Good. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Yep.
Well, I hope you're all caught up. That's good. All right. What are we going to talk about today? We can start with some GSL if you want.
Did more GSL happen? I thought we were still waiting for Group Stage 2.
5 days ago.
Yeah.
So it's after the last pod.
Right? After the last one, but it's still not the next group stage. It's just like the Group D or E or E. Yeah.
It is, yeah. So the group was Cure Solar Dark Prince.
And
I think we were both like Cure Dark, right? Pretty
yes. That is what we said.
Yeah.
It
is Cure Solar.
Cure and Solar Dark not getting out.
Yeah. So Cure didn't drop a map
No, Cure did quite
against
well.
Solar or Dark. He 2-0'd Solar, and we're like, oh, Cure. And then he 2-0'd Dark, and it was like, okay, you're serious business right now. So I did watch those series because I was like, how?
Okay.
And because we talked about this last week, right? My whole theory that like if you can kill an elite Zerg player in the first 10 minutes as a Terran is a lot easier.
Yeah.
And that a large percentage of the wins in TVZ come at that time. And you know what? It didn't really hold up.
No.
Of the 4 games that he played against Dark and against Solar, one of them was like a, start the push at 7 minutes, Solar's dead before 10. Fine, normal stuff, right? But the other 3 were like late game TVZ stuff. He's got like tanks, marauders, marines, liberators. One of them, he had a bunch of ghosts going. He was like playing Maru style. And he was doing great. He's just making good trades and expanding a bunch and being everywhere. And the Zergs, all 3 of those, I think Solar and Dark went lurkers. Which are pretty, Terrans complain about those a lot, but he was using Liberators and tanks to kind of keep them at bay and then sniping them when they tried to move. And it was hot stuff. Cure's serious. Like, I know he won a GSL, but part of me is like, I don't know, man. Is he for real or not? It was only one GSL.
Right, it was only one GSL. And stats wasn't even in it. Like, you start finding reasons to be like, is it really an achievement? I don't know.
Right. So I don't know. He's legit, man. He looked so good.
Well, he's got quite the group to get out of next week. Yeah.
And the first name in that group is Maru. He's playing like a madman right now.
Yes, and if there's one thing his last group showed us, we don't know how Cure's TBT is.
Correct.
Because there was absolutely no other Terrans in that group. But now he's got 2 others to face.
Right.
Yep.
So that's gonna, and 2, Maru's a beast. Bjorn.
So
he's in the back for military group along with, Sue and Dongregu and
Yep.
So yeah, Maru, Cure, Creator, Dongregu, and Beyond. It's a fun group. There's a bunch of people in there I like to watch.
All good names. All good names. Yeah. The other group is Hero Bunny, Ragnarok, Gumiho, and Solar.
Yeah.
More of a
pretty good group.
Yeah. It's just weird, like not having Dark or Rogue in either of these groups.
Yeah.
Where are the top 10 players? Like, there's Maru. There's everyone else.
Raynor was here. He didn't make it through.
It's true. Raynor was here.
Yeah. Insane. And look at the Terran representation. What are there? 5 Terrans in here?
2 Protoss, 3 Zergs. Whew. Terran OP. Enough Terran.
Seriously.
Please.
All the Terran fans are like, thank goodness. About time. Got some Terran representation in this thing. It's been a while. Yeah. Fair.
Yep. If you look at Group B's matches, if you click show, all of the Terrans are on the left-hand side except for one, which is Creator. Like, that's... Right. Every game is going to have a Terran in it. Every match is going to have a Terran in it except for one. For that group. And if you look at Group A, there's still 2 Terrans there, which makes it like most of the group there as well. There's so many Terran matches coming up. Hope you like Terrans, people.
Yeah, no kidding. We got some TVTs coming at you. Which, I don't know. I think can be fun. I think we've talked about this before too, but I really like that TVT early game is just a clown fiesta. Like, what is the standard early game TVT? There's not one. Like, I don't know, might show up with like, I don't know, a bunch of Hellions and a Liberator and like a couple tanks, or maybe some Marines and Marauders with Widow Mines and Ravens. It's like, what? How? How do you anticipate any of this stuff? It's crazy. And it does then settle into Marine tank, right? And Liberators and stuff. But that first 10 minutes is like, I don't know what to expect.
It's actually interesting. Out of all of these matches, there's only 4 TVTs.
Oh, yeah, you'd think there'd be more.
No. There's a lot of Terrans, but they're also fighting Zergs and Protosses and each other a little bit. But yeah, you would think there'd be more.
Yes, but no.
Nope.
It's all good. It's okay. Again, early game TVT is fun. It's not that fun.
It's no ZVZ early game. Ooh, that's so much fun to play. I love it every day.
Oh, yeah.
Can't get enough.
Ridiculous. Anyway, should be awesome. When's Group A happen? In 5 days from now. Got it.
5 days, 8 hours, 15 minutes.
3 a.m. start. They're really sticking to this 3 a.m. start time, aren't they?
Yep. What's even better is that these groups are doing that like played over 2 weeks thing. So even like official group finished results won't be done for like another 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
And the final is going to be held on October 13th.
13th. Yeah, which is
a
a month away.
Yeah. Ooh, there's a 6 a.m. local start time here.
Oh, for which?
Round of 6 decider match. Best of 5.
Oh.
That losers round.
Oh, okay.
6 a.m. start time. Okay. But the rest of it's, I mean, well, one's 5. It's moderately doable. I don't know.
Good for you. These are all like 11 p.m. for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
but you have baker's hours, so that's not really 11 p.m. for you.
no, that is, I'm asleep.
Yeah. You're way asleep by that point.
Yes.
Yeah. Hoorah. All right, cool. So that is that.
That's that.
That is the StarCrafts. What was I going to... Oh, yeah. So, I did watch a couple things. Well, I watched the latest episode of Rings of Power over this last week.
Yep, I did not watch that.
Right. And I was aware of that.
Uh-huh.
So, I will say, I don't know. Part of me is like, the show is just ramping up. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's introducing you to a ton of new characters, or if they're characters you know about, they're different enough because this is 1,000 years ago compared to Lord of the Rings.
Sure.
Like Galadriel's not the same person because it's centuries earlier.
Right.
For example.
Yeah.
Millennia
even.
Yeah. Into the millennials. So they're introducing a ton of new characters, and it's just a lot of setup. And so it is a lot of setup. Not a ton has happened.
Mm-hmm.
So part of me is like, is anything ever going to happen? But I don't know, like Game of Thrones did this.
Mm-hmm.
First 3 episodes of Game of Thrones are like people talking, and I guess Bran does get pushed out a window in the first episode. That's something.
Right. Like they get some direwolves, and Ned cuts off someone's head, and they meet the queen and the king and the imp, and then Bran falls out a window. Well, he gets pushed.
And I think
that's about
Joffrey
it.
gets slapped.
He does.
First episode, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you can't do this to me. I can, and I did.
Yeah, and then everybody fell in love with Tyrion.
Tyrion, yeah.
Tyrion, yeah. My brain wants to say Tywin. It's not Tywin, it's Tyrion.
No.
Charles Dance is Tywin.
Yes, the old guy.
Anywho.
Anyway, I do worry that setting up the Rings of Power is like, oh, wow, there's a lot of really great setup. Where will we see these rings be resolved? Oh, right, and the Lord of the Rings.
Right.
It's like they're inherently setting up a story that we know is not finished in this story.
Well, yeah, not finished, but how long before Lord of the Rings do the ring wraiths become ring wraiths?
That's true. I would assume thousands of years.
Yeah. So I'm expecting... I don't know. Like, that's another question. Sauron's like, yo, leaders of man, leaders of elves, leaders of dwarves, I have these rings for you. And it's like, okay, but we already fought this huge war against you. It's like, well, stuff that I didn't know when I first watched Lord of the Rings. I figured Sauron was like chill with everybody. And he's like, here's a ring. And they're like, neat. And then it corrupted them.
Well, he didn't, I don't know if they've changed it, but he didn't go to them as Sauron to offer them rings. He went in disguise.
Oh, so like a stranger shows up and is like, yo, here's a ring, put it on. And they're like, okay.
No. Okay, so I've only seen the first 2 episodes.
Okay.
You know the tower that Celebrimbor wants to build to forge something? Yes. He wants to make the rings. Because a stranger came to him and he's like, hey, I've got these plans to make these really cool magical rings, but you need a better forge. And that's why he's going to do it. And so most of this...
Gets tricked.
He gets tricked, and then they're like, hey, these rings have some other nasty quirks. Let's take them off real quick, but the humans don't. And they become ring wraiths. Essentially.
Okay, so everybody implicitly trusts Celebrimbor, then?
Yes, because he is one of the finest artisan smiths of elven history.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So basically, all this happens because he's dumb.
Dumb is a matter of perspective, I suppose. It's like we knew that this guy was like evil and Sauron in disguise. All he has is, there's some magical being who's wants to help me forge something great and played on his like. It's not dumb. It's just
in a world where great evil exists.
But so does great good.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, verify what these things do.
How?
The identity of this random person. Do something.
I mean, he has his name. I just can't remember it. It's like the issue is with me here, not Celebrimbor. Well, it is later with Celebrimbor, but he doesn't make the things. It's not completely waylay him of blame.
Anywho, all right, fine, whatever. Celebrimbor.
Mm-hmm.
The reason everything fell apart. Way to go, dude.
Good for you, buddy.
What did we get here? Oh yeah, for me just understanding the whole story of Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, they're setting up a ton of stuff.
I can believe that.
Yeah. So it's not fair to say nothing has happened. Like Galadriel gets sent back to the elven homeland, and she's like, "Screw that!" And then she jumps off, and then she has pirate adventures, kind of.
Right.
And things like things are happening.
But they're just happening very slowly.
Yeah, it's not moving super fast.
She just spent like 40 minutes of episode 2 in the water. It's like, okay, this is dragging on a little.
In the water on like a life raft, getting attacked by a sea monster.
Yeah, but I don't care about this sea monster. Like, it's just a sea monster to me. It's like, they're getting attacked by sharks. Okay. Also as dangerous as a sea monster. Like,
yep, you're in the sea.
Exposure, dying of thirst, starving to death, infighting between the people who don't trust her as an elf. Way more interesting than the sea monster.
Yeah. Fair enough. So Galadriel ends up getting taken to this human kingdom on an island that the elves feel like they gave these humans this island because they helped them against Sauron. And the humans feel like they earned it because a ton of them died in that war. So Galadriel's like, you should be grateful. And they're like, screw you. We earned this thing fair and square. So there's that whole conflict. That's fun. And it was nice. Because I was getting to feel like a Galadriel was a bit of a Mary Sue, right? Like nothing she ever did was wrong. But yeah, she ends up paraded before the king of this human kingdom. She's like, screw all of y'all, you owe me. And I'm like, oh, okay, good. That's good. She totally screwed that situation up through her pride. I'm down. I'm okay with this. So it was nice. It was just she showed. I mean, it's human. It's a human characteristic. She's not a human, but it was a character flaw that I think would be appropriate for someone who's been around as long as she has and has had so much success as she has, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's a totally normal thing for a person to do, and an elf, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, look forward to watching it.
Yeah, it's all right. And then I can never remember his name. Andorin, the ranger elf dude at the tower in the town.
Yep.
Is it Andorin?
I don't know his name. I don't remember his name.
Yeah. So apparently he gets captured by orcs who are enslaving the local populace of elves and humans and building these tunnels. Right.
Oh, okay.
So, sure, it's like traditional. You're enslaved.
I dropped something.
Orcs.
Know that.
What?
Oh, there was a large dinging sound. Just ignore that. I dropped something. I was fiddling with something in my hands. Should not have been doing it. Broke it.
Yikes.
Yep. Whoops. Anyway, elves being enslaved by orcs. Good times.
Yeah.
Humans being enslaved by orcs, not elves.
Humans and elves. Together.
Humans and elf or elves?
Elves. There's multiple elves there.
Oh, okay.
Andorin knows them because all the elves know each other because they've been around for 1,000 years, right?
Sure. I mean,
ish.
Okay, so I immediately have a question where they were at this watchtower. They didn't notice any of their own elves go missing.
Yeah, that's the thing, right?
It's like, what were you here to do? It's like, oh, well, half of our comrades have just disappeared. And it's like, okay. I guess we'll find them at some point.
That's okay, so they're coming from the south. I mean, how good was the Elf Tower coverage? Because it seems to me like maybe this was the end of it. And there's this one town they're kind of watching. But there's nothing further south than that because they would have noticed the other town getting destroyed, right?
Right. I don't know.
So the Elf Tower coverage doesn't seem super hot. So it's possible there are elven settlements in the south that have gotten wiped out and the elves don't know about it.
I mean, maybe. I just feel like Galadriel and her party were able to go to the very most north place that it could ever go and get back just fine and tell the king everything that they needed to know about going north and him to be like, nah, don't worry about it. But
even
a watchtower, even though he is worried about it, but a watchtower of people who are like, we are significantly closer to like where the last known recording place of elves of orcs are, and like a bunch of the people could get taken prisoner, but none of them know, none of them send word, even though they're like way closer to elf authority and reinforcements and like their chain of supply, I would assume. I don't know. Begs a lot of questions.
It does. There are a bunch of questions. One of the questions is, and like, okay, so on Twitter you have the morons who are like, why is there a black elf? And it's like, that's not a good question.
It's a terrible question. It's a terrible question.
The question should be, why is there only one black elf? How did this happen? There should be a bunch of them. But like every elf we've seen in the show to this point is white. So like, why is this dude black? Is there a pack? Is there like a village of black elves or a whole subsection of black elves? To the south?
Are you asking if they segregate the black elves?
Right? Yes. It kind of is. There's like that's how it works.
Well, I'm definitely all for there should be more of them because it just removes this point of conversation. There are a lot of established characters and lineages that we know of. White elves, Galadriel's white, Elrond's white, blah 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 blah. Like the Elf King's white. We know this because like they are. Like I don't know how to put it other than when we see these characters in other places, they need to be recast as the same person. You know.
Right.
So there should just be more of them wandering around.
Yes.
And I don't know why there isn't, except for the fact that all of the other main elf casts are already set, you know?
Yeah.
Like this guy, from what I understand, is new. Like he's not in the Silmarillion, like whatever he's doing. But yeah, there should just be more of them.
Yeah, totally. What it feels, I mean, this is the argument I've been seeing from people who are mad about this. Is like it feels like it's tokenism. Amazon's like, we need racial diversity in our show. We're gonna make one of the elves black. Done. It's like, but wouldn't it make more sense if there were a bunch of them? Like, you guys, logically, and where are they in Lord of the Rings? Is there some kind of like elven holocaust we don't know about? Some racist elven Hitler showed up and killed them all. Like, what happened?
I mean, maybe that did happen. Maybe the first war of the elves, like all of the black elves died. I mean, also
there's ways you can do this. They're just not doing any of these things yet.
Right. I'm pretty sure they don't want to insert like an elf Hitler into Lord of the Rings mythology. I'm pretty sure they don't want to do that. I just don't think that's gonna happen. Ideally, more of them should just show up. There are also other implications that I find where he's the black elf, so he's already singled out by being the only black elf, but he's also different from all the others because he's in love with a human, right?
True.
So it's like, oh, he's different. He's special.
Not the only one.
The only one we see.
Yeah.
So far, at the very least.
Is
Elrond.
Half elf. Yeah,
right, but have they explained that yet? Because
no, he's not in the third episode, so no.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
It was.
Yeah, so there's that. There's also the fact one of his like elf commander at the Watchtower asked him what he did back in Valinor, and he was like, "I was a grower." And it's
Right.
like, oh, okay, so this is someone who works the land. Is he like a lesser person than like what we need to like? Because our ideals of people who toil in the dirt are different to what they might be in there, but our understanding is our understanding. So when we're told this person is a farmer, basically, and he's the only black elf, it has some connotations. What was he growing? Are they wearing what he was growing by any chance?
Right. Yeah, because the commander is like, "Oh, you were a grower. Well, that's okay. We'll all be honored as super cool people when we get back."
Right.
The implication being he wasn't a super cool person before.
Well, I don't think it was super cool. I think the remark was something like, "Well, there'll be much to tend to," as in like all of the weeds will have overgrown, and you'll have lots of work to get back to do. Right? That's how I think I
thought he
read
was
that.
talking about honors, though. Wasn't it like we're all going to be hailed as heroes and stuff?
No, I think it was. Nobody will have done your job. It is beneath us. You will have lots to do. I don't think it's
Elves
meant
are
super
super starving to death. It sucks.
Well, I mean, they eat lambus bread. They don't need a lot. But yeah, it's just the interpretation of a lot of the dialogue there seems a little wonky, depending on how much you want to read into it, intentional or otherwise.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I look forward to seeing how that goes.
Yeah, that is curious. I mean, he's a slave now, so maybe he doesn't get back home at all.
Maybe.
Not great. Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know. So that's kind of interesting. Anyway, it's fine. Yeah, so that's Rings of Power.
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene where Galadriel and the captain of the ship that picked her up, like they're gonna go check out this elven library tower.
Okay.
And she's like, "Where is it? How far away is it?" And he's like, "It's about a day's ride." And she's like, "Did you say ride?" And I'm like, "What's going on?" He's like, "She's a huge horse girl, apparently."
Yeah.
They're riding the horse, and she's like, "This is the best thing I've ever done." Like, what? Why are you so into this? It's
Elves
just a mode of transportation.
Elves are like one with nature. To ride upon nature is great. It's way better than like a boat. They're made of wood and dead trees. God.
Yeah, no. I get it's better than a boat for them, but like,
Why is
so
she
it's
so
an
into
elf
it?
thing, like every elf would be like, "Yes, horse riding."
I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe. Just
Maybe.
more examples, I guess.
Um,
I mean, it's not a huge deal, but she was so happy. It's like the happiest she's been on the whole show.
So when Arwen is saving poor little Frodo when he's been stabbed by a ring wraith, and she summons the horses, but they're made of water. Like she gets the river to flow as horses. Yeah, she's
super cool.
Galadriel's granddaughter or something like that. So love of horses might be a genetic thing, and like all of her magic.
The family of
is-
horse girls.
Yeah. Like, so there's
Okay.
maybe some precedent for her being into horses. Who knows?
That's good context. I like it. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, that's enough Rings of Power. I also watched The Sandman on Netflix.
Yeah.
Which is an adapted Neil Gaiman story.
Okay.
Book? I don't know what it is, actually. A series of short stories, possibly? Maybe? I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's good. And it's just very much... Gaiman loves this kind of stuff, where it's like mythical creatures are real, He loves the concept, especially of angels and demons being real. Hell's a real place.
You can buy the Sandman box set for $395.
Ooh, gross. Is it like graphic novels?
It doesn't... yes, it's comic books.
Oh, okay, so it's adapted from the comics.
Yeah,
Got it. I did not know that.
Started in 1989.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's going a ways back. I guess not too far back. Anyway. Yeah, it's good. I like it a lot. So it's 11 episodes for some reason. 10 kind of tells its own story, and then 11's sort of like its own thing.
Okay.
So, I don't know. So basically, the main character is the Sandman, who is Lord of Dreams, and his powers make it so that humans sleep and dream and like he can make stuff happen in the real world through the dreaming of humans, basically.
Sure. Okay.
So to start off episode 1, he gets captured by Charles Dance, actually, by Tywin.
Oh, Tywin Lannister. Okay.
Yeah, who's this dude who's really interested in the occult, and specifically, he wants to capture Death and force Death to bring his son back, who died during World War One.
I'm not sure that's what Death does.
I know, but it's his whole idea. It's his whole shebang.
Okay.
So he manages to get a hold of some magic book that has spells in it and stuff, and one of the spells is for binding Death.
Okay.
Like you summon him and then you bind him, right? It's very bog standard magic stuff.
Naturally.
Yeah. So they summon and they capture the Sandman instead. Like it misfired or something.
Okay.
So he's like, I'm not Death. I can't help you with this. And they're like, well, screw you. We're gonna keep you imprisoned here until you do help us out. And he's like,
okay,
not gonna do it. So he just stonewalls them for 100 years. He's like, screw you guys. I'm not giving you anything. And it's not really clear whether he could help them or not if he wanted to. But he's like, you captured me. I don't negotiate with terrorists. This is not happening.
What kind of things does he do normally? Like, what kind of change could he bring just on his own, doing whatever it is he's supposed to do?
He can give people specific dreams. Like, he can give them nightmares. He can... There's this whole episode where he changes the... So, small spoiler, I guess, for one of the later episodes, but there's a serial killer convention.
Okay.
So a bunch of serial killers get together at like a local hotel and just like have panels about what they're doing and give each other tips and stuff.
Okay.
So he ends up there and he basically, what he says he does is he says, you've all been having the same dream where you are right and justified in what you're doing. I'm going to take that from you. I'm going to take all of that delusion and all that dream that you've been living for all this time and leave you with just the stark recognition and stark understanding of what you are and what harm you've caused and what a monster you are. Have a nice day.
Okay, so his powers on what is or isn't a dream is dependent on perspective? Like someone who lives a dream. Like, if I said I was living the dream, like my life is so like dreamlike. I can't believe I get to live this life of luxury. He could come along and just be like, "Your life isn't like that. I'm changing how you see it."
I think so.
Okay.
That's really the only time he does it, though.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like, he doesn't have a ton of sway over what he calls the living world.
Okay.
But his brothers and sisters are different parts. Different concepts, like one of it's death and it's desire and it's despair and there's a couple more in there. There's like 7 of them, right? So his sister Death, she's just the Grim Reaper. She just shows up to you. She appears to you when you're gonna die, and then helps you to the other side. It helps you make that transition. So like she does that stuff anyway. Yeah,
I kind of love the concept of like death having to show up and take you away when you die, and then setting it like 40,000 years in the future where there's just too many people for the like one person to really do this job.
There's too many now. What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, 8 billion people that are on this planet. That's a lot. And it's like, obviously death can't be everywhere at once, and so that should be too much. But what happens if you times that by like 12, right? Like, even if death could only needed to be here for 0.1 of a millisecond, it could do 12 billion people easily, right? Because there's not that many of us dying at one time. There's only like 40,000 a day or 400,000
The death rate is 120 per minute.
Yeah, that's fine. That's 1 every 2 seconds. Or 2 every second or something.
It is.
Right.
But it shows her on her rounds, and she's like, she shows up, and they're like, hey, and then like, how's it going, Charles? And they're like, how do you know my name? And then they realize, like, that's kind of a neat part. Like, she's never like, I'm Death, I'm here to take you away. They just know. And they're like,
that's cool.
Shit. But it's too late, right?
Right.
Nothing they can do about it.
I mean, she doesn't have to have a conversation with all of them.
That's true. She doesn't.
Right. So what happens when it's triple that?
Right. I'm saying she could do it, but you're right. When it gets completely infeasible. How does that work? I don't know. They're
Right.
magic. That's
Yeah,
what it is.
they're magic. I don't know. Does Death get an apprentice? Teach them how to do it as well? Do the dead stop
maybe.
dying? Don't know.
Get some staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. There's so as part of getting kidnapped, he's got these kind of totems of power, right?
Mm.
He's got a bag of sand.
Sure.
So it's kind of weird because like he's all, I need this stuff. There's a ruby, there's a magic ruby and a bag of sand, and then like this helmet thing that looks like a gas mask. I don't know, man. It's Gaiman's imagination, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So he's like, I need this stuff, and he's weak without it. And then he gets the bag of sand back and like he can teleport. Like he uses it to like go places. It's this endless bag of sand, and he pours it out around himself, and it creates this cloud of sand, and he teleports.
Because he's the Sandman.
He's the Sandman.
Okay.
But then he doesn't need it a lot at all after that.
He uses it once, and then it's just like an item on his belt, and
Well,
it's like it's there, but he doesn't use it.
Yeah, it's a couple times. But maybe it's just saving on CGI. They're like, you get it. When he transports, he uses the bag of sand. We're just going to have him transport without showing you the sand anymore. It just saves on budget. Yeah.
Saves on time. We got things to do. It's like the Game of Thrones thing. It's like, we don't want to have to show you everyone who's traveling all over the place. We'll just teleport them. That's fine.
Right. But I mean, they didn't have to show us, but at least they could have been like, it's 4 months later, and now we're here, right? Like, at least they could have tried.
I could have tried. That is there's some interesting things I've noticed rewatching Game of Thrones. Complaints that people had about like the final seasons, about like Theon Greyjoy being in the Iron Islands and then in Winterfell in no time.
Right.
But it's like, oh, that stuff was actually littered throughout the show, and the Iron Islands to Winterfell is actually not that far. Like he made that trip to like capture Winterfell when Robb went south, right? Like, that is a relatively short distance, but there are people zipping across the place.
Yeah,
like, it happens a lot.
Anyway,
not the point.
Yeah, Sandman. So there's kind of a fun episode where he goes to hell because that's where his helm ended up.
His helm, like his helmet, like his hat,
like his helmet.
Okay.
He calls it his helm, but yeah, it's his helmet, right?
Okay, dude needs to.
So Lucifer doesn't like him very much.
Okay.
So he ends up having to battle her, who is Brienne of Tarth, by the way.
That's who plays
Lucifer, which is kind of cool.
There's neat.
A lot of Game of Thrones. Yeah. So he has to battle her, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting, because he even says like, she could squash me like a bug. I am here hoping she doesn't just kill me when I walk through these doors, right?
What does he need his hat for? Because it's like, you're taking a big risk. If like someone can just like poke, you're dead, right? Like, you got to have a really good reason to go there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's another thing. It's like the first time we see him, he's wearing the helm and he's trying to collect one of his nightmares that's gone rogue. So he creates nightmares and dreams, and they go into the dreams of people and do stuff. And he's just, I don't know what purpose they serve exactly. But one of his nightmares, they are sentient for some reason. So one of his nightmares is sentient and is basically running around just killing humans for the fun of it. And he's like, you've gone a bit haywire. So he goes to collect him in the real world, and he's wearing his helm. And that's when he gets summoned by Charles Dance and gets captured.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, maybe he needs it when he's in the real world. But then we never see it again. He gets the helm back. And then it's like, awesome, all my powers are here. And then the helm goes away, never to return. I don't understand. Yeah.
So it's like a manifestation of him that he can give to someone else, but once he gets it back, he can just like reincorporate it into his body.
I guess so. But why was he wearing it when we first see him episode 1? What's the point?
Aesthetic.
So we know the helm is a thing. And so when it's taken from him, we're like, oh no, the helm.
Well, yeah. Yes. Okay. So filmmaking reasons, like you need to set up this thing as a thing he has and the thing that he needs for some reason. In context, it's Sandman's got drip, basically.
I mean, kind of. So it's interesting. It's like this gas mask, and then it has like a human spine coming down the front.
Ooh,
hang on a second.
Find me a picture. Would you say this show is worth resubscribing to Netflix for a month to binge?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
It's like what? $15?
Probably a little bit more for me.
Yeah.
It's like 19 Australian, I think. I can check.
Maybe $20? Because it's like a diving helmet. It's
$22.99.
oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
I would say no. How about you
Okay,
wait
that's
until
cool.
there's something else that
Something
you
else.
also want to watch, and
Right.
then watch both.
Well, there is. I'm waiting for something else, so it's coming.
What are you waiting for on Netflix?
Isekai Oji-san. My uncle from another world.
Yes. I forget
Yeah.
it was an isekai thing. All right.
Yeah. It's actually really funny. It's a big parody. Whoa, that's a big link.
Yeah, the second one is the one that you want.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, we got there eventually.
Well, yeah, that's interesting. It's
Yeah.
reminds me of an alien from like Doctor Who or something. I can't remember what it's from. Oh no, it reminds me of Star Wars. There's big bulbous-eyed aliens in like the prequels.
Not like Greedo?
No, kind of like Greedo. Yeah. Oh, it's the sax player from the
Cantina.
The Cantina. Yeah.
Yeah. It is kind of like that. Anyway, that's the thing. So, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So, he needs the helm back. And so, he has to fight Lucifer for it. And the fight is like this. It's a fight of the imagination.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the person who starts thinks of something. Yeah, thank you. Totally. And they're kind of traditional, like, oval-shaped head aliens, too. And
and the spine is like the sax coming out of his mouth. It's fine.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Anyway, it's like an imagination battle. So one person says, I'm a hunting wolf, right?
Okay.
And then the other person says, okay, so I'm a hunter who specifically is to hunt wolves. And someone's like, okay, I'm a dragon who eats hunters, right? So it's this back and forth thing. And I'm like, so, yeah.
That sounds like kids being like, "Nuh-uh, well, I'm this. Well, I'm this.
Yes.
Well, I'm this." It reminds it's very rare that a creative battle isn't just like, well, like you can have good choreography and a good fight choreography, right? It's very rare that I think there's some kind of creative twist that really works. In Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange is like plucking and pulling on the notes of music, and it's like, oh, it's this soundscape battle. It's like, I don't give a shit. That did not work for me. 0 out of 10 on that for me.
Right. So what they're trying to do is get away from the traditional punching and kicking choreography of everything. Right.
Right. But there is an anime called No Game No Life, which is a kind of, it's okay by the sheer virtue of how creative it gets in some of its fight scenes. Otherwise, it's just like another isekai kind of bullshit thing where a dude wants to like bang his sister or something. Like, it's weird. But they have this game where, so I don't know what the game's called in English, but it's like I say a word and I say dog, and then you've got to say a word that starts with G, and then I have to, it's that back and forth. But every time you say a word, it creates it if it's not here, or it takes it away if it is. And it's a very creative use to watch it in Japanese, because this guy comes from Earth, and so he starts with hydrogen bomb, right? Like,
wow, right into it, yeah.
And he kind of like once he figures out that things from his world that Data have no concept of are possible, like the layers of an Earth, he can use that to trick and win, and it's very interesting at that point to watch him basically toy with the other person.
No, that makes sense. That's cool.
It can work. It's just I don't. That you telling me that they're just like, well, I'm a wolf. Well, I'm a hunter who hunts wolves. You know.
Yeah. Yep. So it ends up she's like, I am like entropy or something, right? I'm like nothing, like the end of the universe of all things. And then he wins because he says hope. It's like, oh, all right. And she's like, fair and square, you win. You can have your home. Bye. And I'm like, all right, fine, I guess.
What if they come, like, they have to play that game again, and he's like, all right, you can go first. And he goes, I'm Hope. It's like,
Right?
You just let your trump card, you play it immediately.
Yeah. I don't know. It's really stylized, obviously, and it's not really, doesn't make a ton of sense, but it was a way for him to get his helmet back without having to actually throw down with someone who's times more powerful than he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I'll allow it.
Yeah. It's cool. It explores a lot of different ideas. Like while he's in hell, the dude who's leading him to the palace leads him past where all these humans are imprisoned, like human souls are imprisoned.
Okay.
And one of the people that he intentionally leads the Sandman past is a person that the Sandman, a woman that he was in love with and married to, like 10,000 human years ago, right?
Right.
Yeah. So he's had all these lives and all these relationships and done all this stuff and messed around with humans and yeah, and it's just like, what did that turn you into after a lot of time? And there's a lot of talk about like we exist to serve humanity. And like that's a lesson that a few of the Endless, which is him and his brothers and sisters, can forget sometimes and like need to be reminded of and stuff. So
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, it's very interesting stylistically. I think it looks really good. I think the pacing is just solid for what it is. Like it's not in a hurry to do anything. Just feels very deliberate in the choices that it's making and stuff. So
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the Sandman.
Yeah. Is it entirely based off the 1958 song called Mr. Sandman by the Chordettes? Like, Mr. Sandman, could you bring me a dream? That song, you know? I had to look it up to find it, but... like,
I mean, that can't be the original concept of the Sandman.
I have no idea.
It didn't initially show up in a pop song from 1953.
Why not?
What do you mean, why not?
Why not?
Because it's not.
Okay, are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. Can you cite me a
source?
source?
Don't come up with those kind of concepts.
They could. Like, I'm trying to wonder how much of like modern youth culture is basically invented by pop songs.
Hans Christian Andersen, of course, introduced the Sandman as a concept by relating dreams he gave to a young boy in a week through his magical technique of sprinkling dust in the eyes of children.
And who is this?
Hans Christian Andersen. Hans Christian Andersen, who came up with like all of the modern fairy tales. Like he did The Little Mermaid, and he did Hansel and Gretel, and he did Cinderella, and he like all this stuff is his.
Okay, but he did it like 75 years before the pop song. I'm going to assume the pop song popularized it.
Oh, interesting. You don't think Hans Christian Andersen, like the most well-known teller of fairy tales in the history of the world, didn't popularize the concept of the Sandman?
I mean, you said his name, and I said, who's that?
Fair, I guess.
Look, not everything someone writes gets immediately blasted into the like cultural zeitgeist for 200 years and sticks around. Became made a comic book by another relatively well-known author.
It's true, not everything.
But you have a pop song that sticks around. Like I remember this tune of the pop song for something. It was probably in a TV show, you know, licensed somewhere. I don't. Believe it or not, I was not around to see the Chordettes play in 1958 live.
Right. I don't know. Like, what pop songs have come up with an enduring mythical figure that is being adapted into Netflix shows in 2022?
The Chordettes. Like, I'm not saying it's guaranteed to last forever, but it's. I mean, Stan Lee wrote comics that are still being made into movies now. If they last another 100 years, popular culture can endure into, you know, these things that last forever, you know?
Yeah. No, that's fair. I guess I should have said songs, because I do
Right.
think
Well, I mean, I just don't think songs are
other forms of
unique.
media
I don't think songs are uniquely left out like this.
Left out of creating
lineages of
centuries-long mythical creatures that keep getting retold and reshaped over 100 years.
I mean, ideas is like what I'm getting at. Like, I don't think songs you can just rule them out. Like, in 100 years, will people still know Twinkle Twinkle Little Star? Sure. Will there necessarily be like a Starman who goes Twinkle Twinkle? You know, like, I don't think so. But I'm not saying it's impossible. That's all.
Well, especially because like 80% of songs are just about like love anyway.
Right.
They're not introducing new concepts. Most of it is about the same thing.
Right. I hope in like 200 years there's a superhero that rides around in the back of like an old vintage muscle car who's called Black Betty. Just goes, whoa, bam, bam. You know, that could be a superhero. I see that happening.
Well, if it does, we'll have something to talk about. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anywho. What else I want to cover there? Oh, Patton Oswalt is in it too as a Raven.
Sure.
Patton Oswalt.
Patton Oswalt. Oh, that guy. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. I know who that is.
Yeah. It's kind of fun because the Sandman has a Raven familiar, right? But it gets killed.
Oh, okay.
Trying to free him from Charles Dance's clutches, right? So he escapes. Yeah. So, and anyway, so he escapes, and a new Raven just like shows up for him. He's like, I don't even want you. Like, I miss my old Raven. She was cool, right?
Sure.
He's very emo. Like, that is the characteristic of Sandman, is he is emo. He belongs in The Cure from 1986.
Right.
Yeah.
He's cosplaying as the My Chemical Romance frontman.
100%.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I guess the universe assigns him a new Raven because the Sandman has a Raven, and it's Patton Oswalt. And he was like, so I was human till like 10 minutes ago. I'm a bird now. And he's like, that's fine. He's so cool about it. And he's like, and I just exist to serve you, master. And it's like, okay, so there was some brainwashing happening here. The universe plucked this dude, stuffed his soul into a Raven, and was like, you serve the Sandman. That's all you do. And it's like, all right, cool. I don't have any choice in the matter, nor do I even think about wanting anything else. I am wholly brainwashed here. It's a little creepy, actually.
Yeah, I do like the concept that like the universe just finds someone and stuff something because it's like, well, the Sandman has a Raven. Like, you have to have a Raven, so let's just get him a Raven. Yeah. You know, it's like a concept. It's like death has to have a horse or something. So the horse dies, and they're like, all right, find a person, stuff him in a horse, let's go.
Exactly. Let's move. Get it going here. Yeah, I was expecting him to have to like choose a new one or something. Nope.
Nope.
He doesn't even want it. That's kind of funny.
He just gets one.
Patton Oswalt's like, let me help. And he's like, no, screw you. I don't want another Raven. He's like, that's all I'm really built for, dude. I can't do anything else. Sorry. Like, it's creepy, but Patton Oswalt is so charming, and they give him some funny lines. You're like, ha ha, funny talking bird. And if you think about it, you're like, ugh.
Try not to think too deeply on this, people.
Yeah, exactly. Anywho, good stuff.
Good stuff.
That's about it.
That's about it.
Cover here today.
There's a bunch of video game news. Like, for instance, it is the 15-year anniversary of Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, which is the prequel about Zack.
Very cool.
And so we got a release date. It's like December 13th for PC and Switch and Xbox, and well, maybe not Xbox, and PlayStation at least. So it is coming to PC parity. I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got Nintendo Direct. New
Breath of the Wild game.
Breath of the Wild, yeah. Tears
Not
of
called
the
Breath of the Wild.
No, Tears of the Kingdom, which explains why they were a little hesitant to live stream it in the UK.
Right. Real bad timing.
Real bad timing.
Yeah.
Yep. Man, it hit me the other day that I'm like, oh man, new king. Okay, cool, whatever. I realized at some point, and then we're gonna a whole bunch of new notes and coins and stuff because like the queen's all over that stuff, and it's like, oh great, I gotta get a new passport because the opening line of the passport says, by like decree of Her Royal Majesty. I'm like, well, this isn't valid anymore.
Oh, really? They make everyone go get a new passport?
No, it'll be fine. It's just
when you get it renewed.
When I get it renewed, it'll say something like such and such, the Premier of Australia by commission of His Royal Majesty King Charles III or something. That's what it'll say from now on. Yeah. That
would be funny if they're like, screw you.
This isn't valid.
Needs to get a new passport now.
That would suck because
it will take us 3 years to go through the backlog.
It would not surprise me. 3 years is a generous estimate.
Yeah. So every British citizen and everyone in the Commonwealth. Good grief. Yeah, that's a lot of people.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be one organization. Like all of our passports don't come from like one place everywhere in the Commonwealth. Each country still handles their own passports. So, you know.
Yeah. That's good.
It's not like I would have to wait for everyone in Canada to get theirs before I can get mine, you know.
Yeah.
If anything, it should be done in alphabetical order, and we would go first. So that would make sense.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Yeah. It does make sense.
Makes complete
Apparently, they're
sense.
doing a remaster of GoldenEye for the N64, and one of my brothers was like, "Yes," and I'm like, "You really? Okay."
Didn't that game suck?
I've never understood the incredible amounts of love people have for GoldenEye. It is a first-person shooter on the N64. How is that fun?
Yeah, I don't know. I did not have an N64, so every time I've seen someone play it, I'm like, man, that looks shit.
It looks bad, but also you're using the stupid thumb joystick control.
Right.
How is that any good for first-person shooter stuff?
I mean, ask anyone who plays a first-person shooter on a console. People make do.
But you have two. You have two on the Xbox and the PlayStation. The N64 only had the one.
Did it?
Yes.
No.
It's got the center joystick, and that's it. It's got other like D-pad stuff.
Well, D-pad, see left, right, and walk. It's fine. And then you have the thumbstick framing. It's fine.
I'm not sure that's how it worked, though.
I have no idea.
When I played it, I don't remember it working that way, but that was like 20 years ago. So
all I know is that if you played Objob, he was shorter than everyone. Like his character model was shorter, and so you couldn't hit him. Like, you know, it's just bullshit. So
and that's why everybody banned Objob from any deathmatch stuff.
Right. Which, good for him.
Yeah, good for him. Is there any other video game news? How different do you think the new Zelda game is going to be?
I mean, I didn't like the last one, so if it's better...
So hopefully different?
Hopefully different, yeah.
Okay. Because, like, I don't know. Do we think it's going to be just more open world Zelda with a lot of the same mechanics from Breath of the Wild? Or are they going to go something wildly different with it, you know?
I imagine it'll still be open world because the formula has clearly worked for them. And it's worked very well.
Totally.
Lots of people seem to really like that.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I couldn't
probably
say.
open world, and they'll probably add some new mechanics and a whole slew of new quests and
right.
Yeah, fair
enough.
Fair enough.
That's all I can hope for.
Cool. Well, we'll keep our eyes on that. Whenever
Sure.
that happens in 2025.
I don't know if it had a release date yet.
Right. So 2025.
Is it?
I'm just saying, if there's no release date, it's at least that long. Probably.
Coming May next year.
What? Wow, all right, there's a date. That's cool.
Wow. Actually, I don't know if it is next year. I see the words coming May and then ... because it refuses to display. Yeah, it's May next year.
Okay.
I just filled in. It annoys me that I have, 16:9 aspect ratio monitor, and when I Google something, information will only type out to like this much on it. Right, like a tiny little sliver. It's like, oh, look at all this empty space where you could just spread the text out and show more results, maybe. It's like, no, we want everything to be a phone screen. So if you could just put all your monitors vertical, that would help. Fuck you. Fuck you. Because that's why I couldn't see that it said release date May 2023. It just said May ... I'm like, there's all this space. Just stretch it. Just fill it, please.
Doesn't seem hard.
No. Doesn't seem hard, but apparently it is.
It is.
All right,
cool. Let's wrap this thing up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So thanks everyone for hanging out for another edition of the Falcon Paladin Hour with Summicron. You can support us directly at patreon.com/Summicron. Also at falconpaladin.store for your merch needs. That also supports the podcast directly.
It's true.
And we stream this live at twitch.tv/Summicron, SOMICRON, and the VODs are on YouTube as well. Search Falcon Paladin Hour, you'll find them. And again, thanks for hanging out with us. And until next time, stay safe and stay healthy. And above all, take care.